What's good, you guys? You know who it is. This your boy, Mr. Relentless Lex. And I'm back like I never left this mother Jasersky. All right. I know that was kind of crazy. That was off guard. Sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to scream in your ears, okay? My bad. Don't get your panties in the freaking wad, bro. But other than that, we got Jay-Z friends are turning on him, turning against him, man. This is my boy, Poetic Flacco. I think his name Poetic Flacco. Yeah, Poetic Flacco. Let's get it.
At this point, it's crystal clear that Jay-Z's PR return and that PR interview that was scripted was a complete failure. It had the opposite effect on the public. It didn't make the public see Jay-Z as more human. It actually made us think that Jay-Z is actually worse than we thought, to be honest.
To be quite honest, bro, you ain't never lied, my boy. To be quite honest, you ain't never lied, my boy, Flacco.
Now, I knew that it was over for Jay-Z, and I knew that like Jay-Z's, I don't know, reign at the top was crumbling and falling when I began to see the very same people that are usually terrified to criticize Jay-Z, when I seen they start speaking up against Jay-Z, when I see they start attacking Jay-Z and going at Jay-Z, that tells me, aha, the reward of criticizing Jay-Z is now greater than whatever risk that comes with not being a friend of Jay-Z. And
Thanks.
Once the reward outweighs the risk, you're about to see a whole bunch of grifters hop on board the anti-Jay-Z train that we've been on. See, Jay-Z spoke on capitalism or spoke on like being criticized for being a capitalist. I haven't really heard people criticize Jay-Z for being a capitalist. I heard people criticize Jay-Z for effing people over in business deals and being grimy and being slimy. But Jay-Z spoke on capitalism. And from what he said in regards to capitalism, you had a lot of usual Jay-Z defenders turn on him and they turn against him.
Yeah, so I wanted you to talk a little bit about this idea of like you said earlier, like the things that...
Bro, this got to be a frozen clip. There's no way you hold your mouth open that long, bro. Did this really happen in the interview? I didn't even watch the interview. Bro, that's a flat trap.
You do for the culture, the ways that you put on, the ways that you try to protect and move forward.
This got to be a frozen
pushback
clip
that you get sometimes about like people throw capitalists at you in a derogatory sense.
Yeah, I think in that verse specifically.
Oh, thank God.
The only thing
You guys, thank God it is a frozen clip. My man, Poetic Flacco, did it like this, I guess. I thought that was him just stuck in the interview.
heard coming up was the American dream until we started being successful. And it was like, wait a minute, you're selling out because you're making money. That was the first thing that was put on musicians. People had this law for the struggling artist. That's a mind game, what we would call back in the day for tricknology. It was like, no, I'm not going for that. Like, no, I make art first. And then I make sure that I'm compensated for my art. I didn't take advantage. I didn't get here by taking advantage of people. I didn't take it. No one. That's not my reputation. That's not what I do. I didn't get here by taking advantage of people or taking advantage of, the loopholes in the system or some wrinkle in like a capitalist structure. That structure exists, and I just see the world for what it is, not for what I want it to be. I'm a realist, not an ideal. It's not idealistic.
To what Hov said too, he didn't get there by taking advantage of somebody or by finding some loophole and exploiting that.
I disagree.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying.
I disagree.
If you look back at his story, he pioneered a lot of that stuff, a lot of the decisions, the different things that he was doing.
They started Rockefeller with drug money, right?
Allegedly.
That's not taking advantage of people?
What, being
selling crack to drug addicts in your own community isn't taking advantage of getting...
it was the 80s. Hold up. What you could deem as taking advantage of somebody else may look at as survival. So...
You survived by taking advantage of people. They're not mutually exclusive.
By supply and demand?
Yes, if you supply,
but that's not what.
Yes, literally. Yes.
I think that's
that's
not what made you.
But y'all made like
that's not.
Whoa, that's a great question because he did sell drugs. Okay, I guess if he didn't sell it to the customers in his neighborhood, they're just going to get it from somebody. But the type of money that he was making, he wasn't selling drugs to the actual addicts, He was selling drugs to the dope boys, and the dope boys are selling drugs to the addicts. So he don't know if the dope boys were smoking it, selling it, giving it out or whatever. He wasn't no corner nickel and dime hustler. He used to get on I-95 and make them trips and bring back the big bags of money, you know? So he was not selling to the locals.
That's not what made a billionaire, though. That's what I'm saying, though.
No, but so y'all made like 10 arguments. Let me respond to a couple of them.
Listen to this. I'm gonna break it and simplify it. If I start a t-shirt line, right, and I sell $10 t-shirts, and I sell 100 million t-shirts, I'm a billionaire.
If you give me this scenario on a blank canvas, I'll probably lean more towards ish than Mark Lamont Hill. But I understand what Mark Lamont Hill is saying, and because we're dealing with Jay-Z, you kind of have to add more context to this. Mark Lamont Hill is saying you can't do a podcast talking about, oh, I didn't do this, and this, when the very nature of what you do is that.
I don't have an issue with artists making money off their art. I don't have an issue with people making money or profit. Capitalism isn't the only system where people make money. That's why sometimes when people go, "Hi, you made some money," and you say you don't like capitalism. Well, yeah, there's other social systems where people make money. Like
give me some
socialism. There's still you can still have a profit in socialism, right? So it's not that there's no system where you can't make money. The question is to what extent. And I agree with you. If defining the issue isn't the definition of capitalism, it's the consequences of it. And so I would ask, somewhat rhetorically, but whatever, right? Like, is there ever been a capitalist system in the world where there hasn't been a huge gap between people who have and people who don't?
I have a question.
Hold on, just let me finish, because y'all said like a lot of things I just don't want to forget. I'm old. I'm just old. That's all. And then I'll stop here. To the billionaire point, the issue, I'm sure Jay-Z works hard. Jay-Z may work harder than everybody up here. Cool. Let's just. The issue for me isn't that, but that kid, to use your example, in Indonesia, or that kid in Latin America or wherever, is also working hard. And it's not just like an arbitrary U.S. standard of comfort. If you're working for $1 an hour, or if you have to work in a factory at 8 years old instead of going to school, I think most human beings would agree that that's an untenable set of circumstances. The issue with extreme amounts of wealth is that wealth depends on that kind of system. You sell 100 million t-shirts. It's hard to sell 100 million t-shirts without someone's labor being exploited. It's hard to get $1 billion, maybe not by putting guns to people's heads, but by investing in systems and companies that do those things, whether it's private security companies, whether it's places people that exploit labor. And that's my issue. I'm not saying, because Jay-Z kind of made a straw man argument in that interview where he's like, well, so a millionaire is bad, but 999,000 is good. It's not that. It's not about the individual people. It's about the system. That's my issue. The system itself doesn't allow for certain outcomes.
Theoretically, this is where hell may freeze over, because I can acknowledge that Jay-Z told a lie from the pits of hell when Jay-Z said he didn't F over or exploit people to get to where he's at. That's an absolute lie. We can point to instances of him exploiting people. But I can also agree that capitalism is a flawed system, but it's the most perfect flawed system we have. Until you present me, Mark Lamont Hill, a system that perfectly manages human nature and logistics, then I don't really want to hear a critique of capitalism if there's no better alternative. Now, I say communism, right? Because again, that's like their perfect system they like to point to. They claim they're socialist, but they only say socialism because it's more acceptable than say you're a communist. But communism don't really take human nature into perspective, all right? Like, how do you get people to choose to go to school for 12 years to become a doctor, and they're getting paid the same as somebody who wakes up every day and, I don't know, like clean the roads or take the trash out, right? How do you incentivize that? It can't be, right, a higher standard of living. You can't say, hey, if you become a doctor, even though y'all all got the same wages, we will give you a bigger house. Well, that's no longer communism. That's no longer communism now.
Sure not.
Because we all have the same quality of life. That's communism, right? So if you go to school for 12 years to be a doctor, hey, bruh, you got to live in the same crib as the trash man. You got to eat the same food as the trash man, bruh. You get the same quality of money as the trash man, bruh. And God forbid you start saving money a little too well, you start hoarding money a little too well, hey, bro, we got to come and take away some of that money, bruh, because you getting too rich. Right? So,
thanks.
Yeah, like that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. And also, too, again, in terms of communism, we have to rely on a perfect leader, All right, how do you put somebody in a position of power and don't expect them, to use their power? So you have to have a perfect leader who don't misuse their power, and then you also have to have a perfect society of people who are absolute go-getters, of people who will wake up every day and try their hardest, and that's not really the society we live in.
That's damn sure not the society we live in. We live in the crab in the bucket society right now, bro. Right now to this day, bro. If people are everybody is scrambling, trying to make ends meet by any means necessary, bro. Like he said, I don't care if you're the trash man, a lawyer, doctor, whatever. It seems like everybody in this economy is going through something and hurting. No matter what your occupation is, bro. It doesn't matter, because along with the money comes with the living. You're not gonna be a doctor or a lawyer making $100,000 a year and staying in a 1-bedroom apartment for $1,000, $2,000 a month. Man, you gonna get you a house. Cause you got this thing in your head to where you're a doctor and doctors buy houses, right? But now you just knocked your income in half for the year with purchases of houses and cars. So you basically on the same level as the Burger King worker. The Burger King worker maybe even have a car, So
in this situation, man, where Mark Lamont Hill is taking this Jay-Z conversation, now trying to flip it to go at, like capitalism, I'm not buying it, bro. And people like Mark Lamont Hill, they will say these things, and they would give like ideas, but no real solution, because you can't tell me a better alternative than capitalism. Another person who, for some reason, a lot of people have linked to Roc Nation and Jay-Z. I feel like just by the very virtue of the work he does, people think he's cool, or based on his ideas and ideology and his politics, people just assume he's cool with like Roc Nation. But Van Lathan has never been to a Roc Nation brunch. I've seen him critique Jay-Z in the past, but people do consider like Van Lathan like Roc Nation adjacent for some reason. But Van Lathan had a really interesting perspective on the Jay-Z capitalism comment.
I think the break for me, and just the grand break, is that Jay-Z is saying we in that, but there is no we. What should be being said is I got money. I made it. I did this. Because the pushback on capitalism right now isn't about who made money fairly or who made money ethically. It's about whether or not the system is inherently fair or ethical. And every time I hear somebody talk about this, that is missed. What people are saying is that they're looking around and they're seeing insane income inequality. They're seeing the eroding of living standards for average Americans. They're seeing even sometimes the life expectancy change, right? They're seeing fucked up food. They're seeing declining infrastructure. And they're not saying that Jay-Z isn't working. They're saying this isn't working. They're saying this thing that everyone was told to buy into, and that this would be the saving grace, not of the billionaire class, of the people who are doing fantastic, not of Trump and Hove and Robert Kraft and Michael Rubin. Yeah, it's working for them. What people are saying is it's not working for us. And when we have this conversation, it always gets personalized. It gets personalized by people who go, hey, now that we didn't make the money, now they're telling us that we're bad. We're saying the thing is bad. We're saying the thing is inefficient. We're saying the thing is grotesque. We're saying the thing creates winners and losers. It manufactures that. We're saying the thing that we were told was the saving grace of our American existence it's an illusion. And we're trying to have that conversation even with the people who have been able to make the thing work for them. We're trying to say, you're rich. I might be rich. You might be rich. But we're trying to say everywhere else, there's a tremendous amount of immiseration. There's a tremendous amount of systemic failure. And that systemic failure isn't getting better the more money he makes. That systemic failure isn't getting better the more money the people at the top make. That's not what's happening. And the reason why I connected to what he was saying is because, man, this religion of capitalism, where I come from, yo, it's all niggas have. Like, it's legitimately.
The idea of capitalism.
The idea that you can get rich and change your life for yourself, your entire family, all your generations behind, they get picked. It's so, I wish I had the words. I wish I was better at this. It's like 4-3-40, come with us. 7 feet tall, come with us. Good rapper, come with us. And every time they come along with us, they bring along a little force of people. Their cousin get to go to culinary school. Somebody get to do the video. And then when one of them falls, that entire force burns the fuck down. But if not for that, my nigga, you gonna eat oodles and noodles for your whole life until you go to Angola, and then you. So when we're trying to have a conversation about what we're doing, we're not having a conversation about whether or not somebody should make a lot of money. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is whether or not there should be extreme wealth inequality.
But you can allow the ability to create wealth without the ability to hoard the wealth. So why am I creating the wealth? Why am I starting this business if there's a limit and a cap on how much money I can make with this business? Why am I going out of my way working 100 hours a week to get my business off the ground if you're telling me that somebody who works 30 hours a week to get their business off the ground and get their business to a particular height, if I work 100 hours a week, you will still have a cap on how large my business can get? So if I work, let's say 100 hours a week because I want to scale my business to $100 million, somebody who's not as ambitious, they only work 30, 20 hours a week to scale their business to $5 million. Like, you're telling me that I get penalized and I get punished, that if I reach that $100 million, you're telling me that's too much wealth, man. Hey, man, the wealth gap is too great here. You got to get penalized. We need 75% of that, and you can only go back down to 5 million. To me, that's not right, and that's not okay, and there needs to be a better system. I believe maybe a better solution would probably be starting off people, because I do believe, man, that there's probably not that much of a difference between a kid who grew up in the suburbs, went to a public school, had 2 parents in their life, like never went to bed hungry. I don't feel like there's that much of a difference in terms of how they came out compared to the kid who grew up with millionaire parents. I feel like there is a threshold to where we can figure out, yo, this is the minimum standard to where there's really no difference between the quality of life. For example, if a kid starts off in the projects, like his potential quality of life and what he amounts to be, there's a huge gap between what he turns out to be and what that millionaire kid turns out to be. Opposed to the kid who grew up in the suburbs, parents made about $70,000 each, $140K in the household. There's not that much of a difference between what that millionaire kid achieved and what that kid achieved on average. So we do need to figure out what exactly is that floor and start off every kid on that floor. So rather that's, I don't know, housing, rather that's like free, like free school.
Bro, there is a difference, bro. Whenever you're a kid growing up inside one society versus another society, bro, there's a big difference, man. Very, very big difference. I came from a little bit of nothing. I wasn't poor, but I was oodles and noodles and beans and weenies and sharing my clothes with my brothers and the bunk bed and, you know, and sneakers and all that, and no Christmas presents and no birthday presents and all that. It messes you mentally whenever you do go to school, and there's a lot of pressure for kids, man, who don't have as much as the other kids. You know, kids like to joke about certain things. And nowadays, they'll say anything to the kid, bro. They might say, your mama and daddy is a crackhead, or that's why you only got one pair of pants. So that does something to the other kid's self-esteem. So there is a difference versus the kid who got the 2 parents in the household might got 10 pair of pants. So I disagree with that one, bro.
whatever like the floor is, whether it's free housing, free food, whatever the floor is, start the kids off there, and I promise you, then let nature take its course. Some people are just natural F up. Some people are a hard worker, but we shouldn't punish people for working harder. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think of?
Bro, y'all let me know in the comment section as well how y'all feel about that last little part. The rest of the video about Jay-Z was kind of boring to me. I ain't gonna hold you. We know how Jay-Z is. We get tired of hearing the same shit over and over and over. I know I do. I thought it was gonna be some new information. So if I bore you guys on this video, I apologize. It'll never happen again. I apologize. Hit the thumb down button if you don't. Bro, if you don't fuck with it, hit the thumb down button, bro. That's all I can say.